I became
this sober vet.
Don't live, don't live, don't live.
Our mission is to normalize sobriety with veterans who are using and abusing substances in a harmful, self-medicating way. Welcome, world. We made it. We are here, episode 17 of this Sober Vet podcast. I am Army veteran Joe Urick, and I'm joined by Army veteran Dr. Teresa Thomas. What up, Dr. T?
Hey, Joe. How's it going today?
How we feeling? Feeling good, looking good?
Feeling good, looking good.
So I want to jump right into the therapeutisms. I don't know what that word means.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, we'll just run with that. Would you mind doing your therapeutisms and just telling people right off the bat, what are a few coping skills for days that sobriety is tough?
Yeah, because there are days that sobriety can be tough, right? So
Amen.
first you want to really challenge those thoughts. You want to challenge those unhelpful thoughts that come up in your mind. Instead of, I can't handle this without using, you'll want to replace it with a more healthier belief of this feeling is temporary and I have made it through before. I can do it again,
Nice.
right? You want to develop a support system if you don't have one. That support system is really, we can't stress that enough, to have that support system. And it doesn't have to be family, right? If you don't have a great relationship with your family, your friends, sober friends, support groups can also be a part of that support system. And then you want to use emotional regulation skills as well. Use skills like grounding techniques, naming your feelings, even journaling, writing. Yeah, huh? What was that? Right? Yes, naming your feelings and journaling helps to process emotions instead of escaping them, right? And the last but not least is you want to create and follow a routine. Build structure into your day to reduce idle time, right? And triggers. Include time for self-care, your meals, your sleep, your work, and different recovery activities as well. So those are just a few, but really conquering that and restructuring the thought process is something that is really important, that I think that can be done. Just restructuring it. This feeling is temporary. I've made it through before. I can do it again. And just reminding yourself of that as many times as you need to.
Out freaking standing. I love that. That is perfect. So I know this is just audio, but if you could see Dr. T right now, she has all these diplomas behind her, and that was her just flexing all that. That was a beautiful thing.
I love it.
What'd you think about that, Jeremiah? Not too bad?
I loved it. You got some great points, Doc. Good stuff.
Deal.
Nailed it.
Good deal.
So yeah, now we're going to jump right into our guest today, which I'm super excited about. So this is 11-year Army veteran who was wounded in Iraq. He now owns and runs a gym, and he works for a nonprofit that helps vets. So I can't wait to hear about all this. Welcome to Jeremiah Pauly. What's up, brother?
How are you, Joe? Thank you, Doc. So it's an honor to be here. Thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me. I'm excited. Can y'all hear me okay?
Oh, Lima Charla, brother. Yep.
Okay.
You're all good. You're all good.
How about the lighting? Does my beard look okay?
It looks amazing.
Important.
I'm actually a little jelly. Yeah. Makes mine look pretty bad. So Jeremiah, if you don't mind just starting from the beginning, why choose the Army and what MOS did you pick?
Oh, goodness. Why choose the Army? Obviously, because it's the best branch, right? Like,
Cool.
You know what? Like I grew up in a really patriotic family. I grew up in Ohio. Grew up in a very patriotic family. And I remember I was in the Boy Scouts, at the time of Desert Storm. I was probably 14 or whatever. And I just remember watching television and thinking to myself, like, wow, I can't believe there are men and women that go and do things like that for us. Right. I was educated at a very young age about, the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States of America, and these brave men and women that fought, defended, and sometimes died for the rights and freedoms that we have as Americans. And I was really drawn to that. And when I was 17 years old, I did not grow up in a very wealthy family. If I was going to go to college, it was going to have to be on loans or scholarships, and I didn't do that good in school to get scholarships. But I remember one day sitting in my guidance counselor's office, and she came over and she put a bunch of pamphlets in front of me, and she said, "It's time to figure it out. What are you going to do when you get out of high school?" And
Mm.
I was a senior at the time, hadn't turned 18 yet. I was still 17. And I was looking through these pamphlets, and I'm like, nope, 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 nope. And then I saw this one, and on the cover of that pamphlet was a soldier rappelling down a tower.
Nice.
And the caption read, "A year from now, you'll wonder why it looks so hard."
Mm.
And I read all inside about how the Army Reserve would pay for my college. And I'm
Uh-huh.
like, this is great. Like, mom and dad don't have to do this. Like, this
Yeah.
is awesome.
So
I
Mhm.
left school that day. I went straight to the Army recruiter's office. I said, "Hey, I want you to come over to my house tonight. I want you to talk to me and my parents all about everything that the Army's going to do for me." And the guy was like, "Okay, you got it, dude."
nice.
Um, yeah, I was excited. And got home, and I ran in the house, and I'm like, Dad, I figured it out. Like, I know what I'm going to do when I graduate high school." And he's like, "Yeah, what's that?" I said, "I'm going to join the Army Reserve." And my dad, he just kind of took a big deep breath, and he said, "Did you tell your mother?" And I was like, "No, not yet.
Mhm.
But the Army recruiter's coming over tonight. They're going to tell us everything we need to know. Everything. They're going to come over tonight." And my dad said, "Your mom's not going to be very happy about that."
Mhm.
Ooh.
And the
Mhm.
reason is because her brother served in Vietnam.
Oh, okay.
And as I'm sure you all know, and the listeners know, many of those fine Americans, did not receive a very good welcome home.
That was tragic.
you know
Yeah.
and they came home and struggled with a lot of different physical, mental, and emotional things that they just shouldn't have. And the recruiter came over that night. My mom was very silent, during the time that he was speaking to me and telling me about everything the Army Reserve was going to do. And when he had finished, he looked me right in the eyes and he said, "What questions do you have?" And I'm going to tell you what, before I could even answer, my mom, she stood up and she said in a tone of her voice I had never heard before. She looked at that Army recruiter and she said, "You can leave my house now."
Ooh.
Ooh.
That man stood up and he said, "Yes, ma'am. Have a great evening." And I never saw that guy again.
Wow.
Oh.
Oh, crap.
Yeah. My mom, was not going to sign paperwork for me to join the Army at 17.
Mm.
Um,
Mhm.
and she very bluntly told me, "You're going to college. End of discussion."
Okay.
Um,
She drew the line.
and so, yeah, she drew the line in the sand, right? Like that was it. Like
Yeah.
that was all there was. And I said, "Okay." So I applied to a few colleges and ended up being accepted into the University of Akron. And so after I graduated high school, that fall I started there at the University of Akron. Um, I had already known, drinking, because this is going to tie all together, at a young age at 17,
Mhm.
18. Um, but it was in college where, it was really very big and, part of, that social way of just being with other people, even at 18, like you get somebody to buy alcohol for you, or you had a fake ID yourself or
Mhm.
whatever it
Yep.
was.
Mhm.
And, I don't think I really, really, I did not enjoy sitting in a classroom, being lectured to all day. That definitely was not something that I wanted. I didn't try very hard. I tried really hard at partying. I tried really hard at, drinking and all that stuff, and even joined a fraternity and, had a great time. Um, and one day, I was 20 years old, in my I'd call it my sophomore year, but I didn't have enough. I didn't have enough credits to actually complete my freshman year, so we'll call it my second freshman
There
year.
you go. Nice.
I got a letter from the University of Akron, and I tell this joke that they were inviting me to participate in this program called academic probation.
Oof.
Mm.
Essentially, they were saying, you know what? I need you to take a semester off. When you figure out what you want to do, maybe you can come back. And
Yeah.
I was like, okay. I had worked in a pizza shop, part time, since I was 16, and I did not want to go back home and do that.
Mhm.
And I started thinking about what my other options were. And I had two friends that were currently, or at the time, serving in the Army. And so I called both of them up just to get some information. I just wanted to know what they did, like what was their experience, what would they recommend. I called one of my buddies, his name's Jason, and I said, man, what should I do if I join the Army? He's like, dude, you got to go airborne. And I said, no, 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 no. I don't want to go in the Air Force. No, I want to go in the Army. He was like, no, dude, listen to this. Like, you go airborne, you learn how to jump out of airplanes, and the Army will pay you extra for it. And you get to wear this really cool maroon beret. You
Uh-huh.
look good in this maroon beret, and the ladies love it. And when he
Yeah.
said that, I was like, okay, no
Sold.
matter what, I'm gonna be airborne. Like, that's gonna be my thing, right?
Nice.
Uh-huh.
And I called another buddy, my best friend since I'm probably 5 or 6 years old, Chris, and I was like, man, what should I do if I join the Army? He's like, you got to go infantry. You got to go infantry. And I was like, tell me more about that. And he was like, all that time you spent camping, in the Boy Scouts,
Hmm.
it's just like that. Only you get to carry a gun. It's like, awesome. This is great. And this was uh, uh, 1996, long before 9/11, and, long before, the types of threats that, we have now. And so that's what I did. I went to MEPS and without my mom knowing, I went to MEPS. I'm going to throw that in there.
Oof.
Okay.
My dad knew. Yeah, I went to MEPS just to see what I could qualify for, and I did my physical, and I took my ASVAB, and, did all the things, and signed a contract, that day for airborne infantry, to head out to basic training like 4 months later.
Wow.
And when I came home, I told my dad about it. My mom wasn't home from work yet. And he was like, okay, like, what are you going to tell your mother? Like, she's not going to be happy. And I'm like, I don't know. Like, we'll do it over dinner tonight. My mom came home, and, we started making dinner together. And I told her, I said, look, that I got put on academic probation. College is not right for me. I can't go back to this pizza shop and work. I have to do something else. I joined the Army. I leave in May for basic training. And,
Ooh.
her jaw about hit the floor.
Oof.
And,
Yeah.
I could tell she was really sad. But one thing that my parents always taught me was service. I grew
Mhm.
up in a house where that core value was super important. My dad would give you the shirt right off his back if he knew that it would help. And he would often say, if you're ever in the position to help someone, you should do it.
Mm.
Okay.
And so I used that, while I was speaking to my mom. I said, I'm in the position to help someone, and I'm going to do it. And she had told me, she was like, I don't agree with this decision, but I'm glad that, there's a part of you that's following your heart of what we taught you.
Yeah. That's great.
There I went off to basic training at Fort Benning, Georgia, and airborne school there. And then, eventually arrived at my first duty station, Fort Bragg, North Carolina.
That was my first duty station.
Yeah. Oh, far
Yeah,
out. I love it.
yeah.
Heck yeah.
I was with
Yeah.
18 Airborne Corps.
Love it. Yeah. 82nd Airborne. I loved it. We did a lot of parades and that
Yeah.
time, right? Like, but a lot of really cool training.
Mhm.
And I fell in love with it. I fell in love with putting on my uniform every day. I fell in love with, busting out a ruler to, make sure my dress uniform was just right.
Mhm.
Uh-huh.
taking the little lint off and lining everything up again. Like I took immense pride in that. My identity quickly became, that United States Army soldier that was serving his country, doing something amazing and just having so much fun.
Nice.
Okay.
Squared away.
So that's how I got started. That was it.
Okay. And then I'm assuming the drinking continued at this point because, as we all know.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Because even at 20 years old, you've got somebody in the barracks that was drinking on any given night of the week,
Yep.
right? And it was very easy. Hey, can you go to class 6? Get me a 6-pack or whatever. Definitely continued because drinking is such a huge part of that military culture, right?
Yeah.
It's like, come on, we're going out to the bar and singing karaoke and, doing all the things. It's like, all right, let's go.
Yeah.
And it was even, back in those days, it was like, hey, we got a battalion run tomorrow and it's going to be painfully slow. So we're going to go out tonight and get really drunk. And it was, like that was tradition, getting drunk before a big run like that or something, holding each other up by the back, while you're standing in morning formation. It reeked, but that was, you showed up. If you could show up, like most of your problems are okay.
You were deployed how many times?
I was deployed just one time.
Okay.
Not until 2006.
Okay.
After Fort Bragg, I went back to Fort Benning to be stationed for 3 years as like a machine gun instructor. That was a lot of fun. And from that, I went to Mobile, Alabama to be an Army recruiter from 02 to 05.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
And that was really tough because, all of the people that I had come into the Army with, was stationed at Fort Bragg with, were either deployed or some of them by 04, 05 were even going on their second deployment. And, recruiting duty, even in the South was very challenging during that time because, every night on the news, it was X amount of soldiers were killed in Afghanistan, X amount of soldiers were killed in Iraq. And it made conversations with high school kids, college kids, and their families just really difficult. And, another part that I don't think a lot of folks talk about is down in the deep South, there's still a lot of old ways going on, right? There's still a lot of places that I could not go alone, because of the color of my skin, right? And it was weird to me, I'm from Ohio and, obviously being in the Army, like, what are you talking about? I can't go talk to that person because of what? I'm so confused. Like, what, like, how is that even a thing? Right.
Yeah.
Like still, right. Like, how is that still a thing?
Jeremiah,
Yes, ma'am.
You're not white?
I know, right? Yeah, I am. Yeah. Yeah. Right. Like,
So it's reverse.
it's reverse. It's like you can't,
Okay.
and on recruiting duty, you remember the old camouflage stick?
Yeah.
It had light green and dark green on it, right? So on recruiting duty, we called everybody light green, like me, or dark green, not like me.
Gotcha.
Right?
Gotcha.
Right. And as a light green recruiter, there were some places I could not go alone without a dark green recruiter.
Tracking.
And there were some places a dark green recruiter could not go without a light green recruiter.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Interesting.
Yeah, as sad as that is. And so from there, in the fall of 2005, I reported to 1st Armored Division in Friedberg, Germany. And we deployed to Tal Afar, Iraq in January of 06.
Attention veteran entrepreneurs, we've got a special announcement just for you. Marathon Business Advisory Services is proud to present a unique opportunity, a J-Dog franchise, veteran-owned and ready for its next chapter. Whether you're looking to own your first business or grow through acquisition, this could be the perfect fit. And the best part, it's completely confidential, with no cost and no obligation to explore the opportunity. Just reach out to Jay Calandra at j.calandra at marathonbas.com to learn more. Support veteran success. Build your future. Let Marathon guide the way. Do you mind kind of talking about what happened, how you got wounded, if you're
Yeah,
comfortable?
absolutely. Yeah, happy to. Um, we were a mechanized infantry unit, and we, soon found out, that going around the city of Talifar and those Bradley fighting vehicles was much more challenging. So we decided to live in a house in the city of Talifar.
Mm,
Um, and we did everything dismount, out on walking
but
patrols,
yeah.
every day. And I remember with the mindset, thinking like this is it. Like this is what I signed up for.
Mm-hmm.
This like if I die here, it's okay. Like
Mm,
this is the way it's supposed to be. Right?
mhm.
That was my mindset. Like I was doing exactly what I was supposed to be doing with exactly who I was supposed to be doing it with, surrounded by these men that would defend me with their life, and I would do the same for them. And I really felt like I was truly living out my purpose.
Wow.
Um,
Yeah.
and even aside, from the threats and whatnot, like I loved it, right? No running water, eating MREs every day,
Mm-hmm.
you know, once a week we would go back to, the fob for a hot shower and, to call home, but we would only get 24 hours of that. And then we were back out in the house,
Okay.
Yeah.
right? Like it was challenging, to live without running water.
Mhm.
Had electricity most of the time, but like I was okay with it. I felt very much at home, living in that house with 40 other men, out, looking for bad guys, kicking in doors, helping train the local Iraqi army and Iraqi
Mhm.
police. Um, we would receive a lot of indirect mortar fire from like the northwest part of town,
Mhm.
and it never hit that house, but it was a danger to the residents in town. And
Mhm.
we had decided one day to, okay, we're going to go insert a two-man sniper team up in the northwest part of town. That way, when that truck was little like Toyota truck with a bed
Mhm.
or whatever and
Mm-hmm.
a homemade mortar pulls up, like the sniper team can see it and engage and eliminate the threat. Like that was our way of thinking. And we had decided that day to do a big show of force, right? We had, I think, 18 people on that patrol, and with the goal of having so many soldiers around that the enemy couldn't possibly keep track of how many were in our group.
Okay.
One of the things that we had found leading up to this point in empty houses was weapons caches, handmade, homemade grenades and bomb making materials and all the nasty stuff that would just, hurt us and hurt civilians. Like we would find that stuff in empty houses often.
Mhm.
On one of the stops, we had decided to search this house because it was empty and we were looking for bomb making materials. And imagine, if you will, a courtyard. All the houses there in the city of Talifar have like this walled off courtyard in front of them before you enter the actual house. I had decided that on this particular search, I was going to go into the courtyard and into the house with one of my teams to help them do the search. The team goes inside the house. I'm standing in the courtyard with one of my team leaders. We're talking about, we're essentially battle tracking, right? We're just talking about what's our next stop going to be, how long we're going to be there, how much longer we need to be here, and all that, just kind of talking about what was going to happen next. I look over to my right, and there was this very small garden,
Mhm.
and in front of this garden was this white piece of lattice that you could buy at like Home Depot, and it was kind of dug into the dirt, but just kind of stood up and hanging there. And on that lattice was this long green vine and this most beautiful red and yellow flower I'd ever seen. just the most beautiful flower ever.
Mm.
And as I stood there, I was looking at this flower and I was thinking to myself, how can this beautiful flower, so unique, just grow and thrive in just such a horrible, disgusting place? Like, what? How is this possible? There was nothing else in the garden, right? There was just this vine up the lattice going into the ground and that one flower. That's it. One of my guys had come up to me and, had said, "Hey, Sergeant, the house is clear. We didn't find anything." So, I gave the signal for everybody to go back outside. And as a good leader does, I took accountability of all my soldiers and I touched them on the shoulder, one by one as they were exiting, that house, exiting the courtyard, going back outside. And after I, touched the last one, I looked back at that flower and I was like, I can't wait to get back home to tell my dad about this flower.
Mm.
I can't wait to tell him. He's going to be amazed by this. And I turned and I walked away and boom, the
Mm.
IED exploded.
Jeez.
Mm.
And it like shockwaves, kind of through my body or whatever. And I remember yelling at myself, "Get your hand on your weapon, get your hand on your weapon." Because I had thought, like, okay, the enemy's coming now. They're going to start shooting.
Right.
And I
Mhm.
wanted to be ready.
Right.
And as I'm saying that to myself, I'm looking down and like my hand's not on my weapon. And I'm like, what the hell? I look down, my right arm is just hanging there. There's blood all over my uniform, on my boots and on the ground. And I took a few steps back and I, started crying out for a medic. Doc, doc. A few seconds later, the medic rushed in. Some of my soldiers rushed in. They began applying, a bandage, tourniquet, to my mangled right arm. I was drifting in and out of consciousness. I felt somebody poking me on the forehead, and my thought was, who's got the balls to be poking me in the forehead? Right? Like, do you know who I am? um, and they placed me onto a stretcher and started carrying me outside. By then, we had quick reaction force show up, some armored vehicles, and they took me out. And as I'm in this stretcher, as they carried me outside, that's when I heard, the words that just ring in my ears every single day. And it said, "Missile Dine is dead."
Mm.
Um,
Mm.
this is him right here behind me.
Okay.
Mm.
Um, Private First Class Jody Wayne Missildine. He was 19. He was from Plant City, Florida. Um, he was essentially standing right on top of where that IED was buried.
Oh,
Mm.
so bad. Rest in peace. Now, was this near the lattice that you were discussing before, or where was the IED?
It was out on the road, and I call it a road. It's a dirt road, right?
Yeah.
Like, with divots and trenches and, all the things. And,
Mhm.
we never saw it. We never saw it, but he was essentially standing right on top of
Ah, so sorry.
it.
Yeah. Yes.
There was a Black Hawk that came in, and I was loaded onto the Black Hawk, still in just excruciating pain because, our medic was not allowed. I never understood it, like why a medic, in a combat theater was not allowed to have morphine, right? Like I was screaming in pain, just in so much pain, from this tourniquet and being jostled around,
Mm.
this Skedco plastic stretcher.
Mm-hmm.
And the helicopter took me to this combat support hospital. Was brought into this room, and immediately, I was surrounded by doctors and nurses, I guess, that, had all the scrubs and the masks and all the things on. And someone told me, "Sit up. I need to cut your uniform off of you."
Mm-hmm.
And in that moment, I remembered just being so emotionally hurt by having that symbol of pride,
Mhm.
right? that uniform that I took care of, that I made sure was in a good state of repair, even in Iraq, right? That I made sure was what do we call it? Serviceable, right?
Right.
That
Yeah.
just being cut away from my body. And as I laid back down, still on this stretcher, I felt this splashing on the back of my neck, going into my ears. And I looked over at the doctor and I said, "Why am I laying in water?" And he just very slowly looked at me and said, "That's not water."
Mm.
I was bleeding out. I was laying in a pool of my own blood.
Jeez.
Wow.
And I awoke, I guess hours later. I had an external fixator sticking out of my right arm, holding it together.
Okay.
And there, as I woke up, there was a doctor next to my bedside. And he started asking me some questions about what had happened, and telling me about, the extent of my injury, and how they were going to, send me to Landstuhl Regional Medical Center back in Germany.
Hmm.
And I said, "No, I'm okay. Just I have a broken arm. Send me back to my guys.
Mm-hmm.
Send me back.
Right.
I can sit on the radio. I I don't need to hold a weapon. I can sit on the radio and take care of my men. Don't let me leave my men. No, do not let me leave." We were only in country for, I don't even think, 3 months. So January to April, not even 3 months at the time. And he said, "No, you're going to Friedberg. We need to take care of this wound. It's much worse than what you think it is."
Wow.
Um, and about a day or two later, I was sent to Landstuhl Regional Medical Center, and surgeon came in, and every day they were cleaning out my wounds, which was excruciatingly painful. Um, and as they tried to develop some type of care plan, one day, someone had come into my room to visit and had brought me, was it the Stars and Stripes newspaper, I guess, that was over there? I think it
Yeah.
was what it was
Stars and
called.
stripes.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
There was an article in it about Jody's death. And that
Mhm.
just sent me into a very, uh, very deep depression, again at that moment. And then they sent me out to Walter Reed
Okay.
in Washington, D.C. And just within hours of being there, a doctor came in and he said, "I have a plan. This is what we're going to do to save your arm. And we're going to go into surgery tomorrow."
Okay. They want to jump right on
And
it.
I said, "Okay." And I was really scared. And, I had told him, I remember asking him, like, I actually had a baby on the way. My daughter was set to be born later that year.
Wow.
And I said, "Am I going to be able to play catch with my kid?"
Mhm.
Some of my fondest memories growing up are playing catch with my dad.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted, I wanted to do that with my kid. And he told me, he said, "You need to get used to the fact that there are going to be a lot of things that you cannot do anymore."
Ouch.
Mm.
And I didn't take that as a challenge. I took that as a moment that just sent me further into depression. And we did the surgery, and I started physical therapy there at Walter Reed, the day after the surgery. And I was an inpatient for, I don't know, maybe just a few weeks, but then stayed there as an outpatient at Walter Reed for another 2 months, before being sent back to my duty station in Germany. I was then like attached. I was, like rear detachment or whatever. Still going through physical therapy, and had that external fixator in my right arm for probably another 3 or 4 months until I think September, shortly before my daughter was born. Had it taken out right before then. Still going to physical therapy, and just living with the guilt of not being downrange with my men, and two, of bearing the responsibility of losing one of those men.
Mm.
The depression and the survivor's guilt and the drinking was obviously super high. And I continued with my doctor's appointments, and all that. And it came time, for a medical evaluation board. And the doctor told me, he was like, look, you're never going to be able to do push-ups again. You're never going to be able to squeeze a trigger again. So you can't be in the infantry anymore.
Mm.
That's tough.
So I had lost someone in combat. I feel as though I had disappointed all of my men, because here I was back in Germany, with a safe roof over my head, 3 hot meals a day, while they were still in the fight of their life, with combat operations. I said, well, I'm not going to do anything else. Like I'm an infantry soldier. Like I didn't join the army to sit behind a desk. I joined the army to find bad guys. He's like, well, you can't do that anymore. So I decided to take a medical retirement. Our unit redeployed back home in February of 2007, and obviously we had a lot of parties, welcome home, a lot of drinking nights. When all the guys got home,
Mm-hmm.
and then I officially medically retired from the Army in May of 2007.
More for the Troops is a nonprofit organization whose mission is to raise money for the different things that affect the lives of veterans. This year, their focus is Vietnam veterans, in particular Agent Orange awareness. In April, they held their second annual 5K, where they raised money in memory of John L. Coverly Sr. and donated the proceeds to the Riddle Hospital Palliative Care Unit, where Mr. Coverly received end-of-life care. They aren't done yet. On October 10th, they will be holding the LCPL Fran Olszewski Golf Tournament at Moccasin Run Golf Club in Ackland, PA. For more information, visit moreforthetroops.com. MOORE forthetroops.com. This is tough because everything that you went through totally warrants your actions, your drinking, your feeling the way you did. That's why I'm so excited you're here, because to end up on this side of sobriety after what you experienced and what you've been through is such a gigantic win for you. Like I'm in awe, brother. Like this is amazing. So keep going. So at this point, have you hit rock bottom yet, or when did you realize, like, holy crap, I have to stop drinking?
I hadn't hit rock bottom yet. It wouldn't be till several years later. But I'm going to tell you this because I feel like you deserve to know this, and you need to know this. Part of your story, right, resonates so much with me that, the part, that you shared on that podcast where you was like, I just did the hardest thing in the world and I beat me.
Right.
Nobody else, right? It's like, damn, Joe's got something. And I think about that now in my sobriety. I definitely didn't think about it back then, but I struggled, for many years. I, went to drinking and drank a lot almost every night. I went from, kicking indoors into Iraq and, to being in the hospital and rehab to being a stay-at-home dad, right? Like,
Right.
with this baby, this baby girl, and drank, I'm pretty sure every freaking night.
Mm-hmm.
Every freaking night, I drank. And one night I had decided that I was going to take my own life.
Mm.
And even practiced the point of pulling my gun out of the closet, putting to my head and pulling the trigger.
Oof.
Mm.
Right? Unloaded, right? But I just wanted to know if I could actually do it. Like, could I do it? And Joe, when I did, I got so excited. Man, I got so excited. And I finally had a plan. So I decided to go out that night and celebrate. And I was going to party with the only person that really wanted to be around me, me.
Wow.
And I got drunk, so drunk. And that night I got a DUI.
Wow. So that essentially saved you. Like,
Mhm.
holy crap.
The DUI definitely saved my life, right? Because I would have went home, and shot myself.
Are you religious at all? How I don't know what your spirituality is.
Yes. Like that's some divine
That
intervention, right?
100%, dude. Yes. Wow.
Right? That's some divine intervention. I kept drinking after that. I cut way back, but
Hmm.
I still drank. But the other part that we're talking about divine intervention is this. When I got home that next morning after I got bailed out, released from jail,
Hmm.
I went home and I went to sleep it off. And I woke up that afternoon. There was a voicemail on my phone that said, "Hey, Jeremiah, this is Megan from Wounded Warrior Project. I
Okay.
need you to give me a call." I
Wow.
had no idea who Megan was.
Mhm.
I knew about the organization, right? And when I called Megan back, she invited me to participate in one of the signature events that the organization does called Soldier Ride. They bring veterans together from all over the country and different locations all over, and you go ride a bicycle over the weekend with other wounded warriors, right? And that weekend in 2011 in Phoenix, Arizona, I was surrounded by men and women just like us that had service, sacrificed, and felt lost post military career. And for the first time of not finding anyone to be around, I didn't feel alone anymore.
Dude, if our listeners do not have goosebumps right now, I don't know what is wrong with you because my whole body is like,
Yeah.
holy crap, dude. That is outstanding. Talk about divine intervention at that time,
Yeah.
at that moment. Wow. Wow, dude. Good
Yeah.
for you. That is awesome.
Blessed. Even with the DUI, at the time, I had still cut way back on drinking. I wasn't drinking every night, but I was still, drinking. And that kept going for, several years. Um, for several years. I knew it was really bad probably almost 4 years ago, maybe almost 5 years ago. I'll be sober 4 years this September.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think maybe it was probably during COVID when, my drinking became super, super troublesome
Yep. Mine
because
too.
I was hiding bottles,
Hmm.
right? I had never really done that before. But I didn't want just one bottle of wine, right? I wanted, you know, 3 or 4 beers plus 2 bottles of wine, plus an old fashioned or a martini or whatever,
Yep.
So I would buy more alcohol at the store than I let anybody in the house see. And I would hide it under the sink. And then when it came time to prep for dinner, I would go into the kitchen, turn on my music, pour a drink, start
Hmm.
drinking,
Yep.
start feeling good and loosen up, not dealing with any of my problems, but, just keep drinking, marinate whatever I was about to cook, start the grill, have a
Hmm.
few more drinks. Oh, let me crank up this song. Yeah, uh, and do that. And there were times where I would have outbursts at dinner and I would throw my plate in the sink, and you know my daughter would ask, are you an alcoholic? And we would have conversations the next day, and my kids would be like, don't you remember about our conversation last night about XYZ? And I had to lie and be like, yep, I remember.
Hmm.
And I didn't. Like, I had no idea what they were talking about,
Mhm.
because I would get so blackout drunk. And it was just a very, very poor way of, dealing with the emotions that I had going on in my head.
Mhm.
I could totally
Mhm.
relate to that because once you start drinking and feeling good, everything else kind of goes away, and you're like, hell yeah, let's keep this party going because you don't want to
Yeah, let's
stop.
keep going.
Yeah, you don't want to stop. And yeah, I was dealing with the same thing, not remembering stuff, and then you're like, crap. Like, do you remember waking up in the morning and the first thing is you're like, am I in trouble? Did I do something bad last night? Like, just
Yeah.
that's the worst.
Yeah. What
Yeah,
happened last night? Is anybody really pissed at me?
exactly.
Right? Like, hey, is everything okay?
Yep. Then you check your phone for text like, who did I? Oh shit, I said what last night?
Yeah.
Like, yep.
Yeah. Who did I cuss out last night? Yep. Oh God. Yeah.
I could totally
Oh my
relate.
goodness.
So then what happened? So what 4 years ago, what motivated you to stop?
Right as COVID was happening, I've always had, this passion for, health and fitness, and exercise. Um, Most notably because guess what? I can do push-ups regardless what that doctor said, right?
Nice,
I
nice.
can make a fist and squeeze a trigger, right? Like I can do those
Mhm.
things, and
Outstanding.
so that really ignited something, inside of me. Uh, and I had found a nonprofit that helped veterans become certified personal trainers.
Oh, cool.
And I was like, this is awesome. Like I can go, learn this and become a certified personal trainer and, really help impact my local community, and hopefully, really empower some veterans, through my own story, about overcoming, survivor's guilt and depression, and all that. And I knew I had a drinking problem, but I I didn't know how much of an issue it was for me until I went to this program to learn how to become a certified personal trainer.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
So at this program, it was about 3 weeks or whatever. It was in Arkansas of all places, right? They bring this large group of veterans together at the time it was at a boys and girls campground, right? We were the only ones really there, right? So we were isolated.
Mm-hmm.
We would get up in the morning, we would do a group workout all together, have breakfast, get ready for some classroom stuff, spend the afternoon learning coaching techniques, one-on-one into groups, on the gym floor, dinner, spend a few hours studying, just bullshitting. Like there was no place to go. It was a couple buildings with, cots and bunk beds and all the things. And of course, like we all got to share our own personal journeys. And I listened to several other veterans talk about, their sobriety and talk about, the demons that they, had battled in order to get sober. And like I said, while you're there, like we couldn't go down to the grocery store to get anything,
Yep.
right? Like, cause food was breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and you had some snacks, but you couldn't go to the store, right? That's not how it was. And when I got done with that class, it was, 3 weeks and a few days long or whatever it was. And I came back home and I realized I hadn't been sober for that long since I was in like Iraq, essentially,
Wow. Okay.
right? Since I was in Iraq. And I said, okay, I'm going to see if I can go 30 days without any alcohol,
Great obtainable goal. Good.
Okay.
right? Super, like I can do this,
Mhm.
right? I can do this. And so that was the month of September in 2021. And I got done with that month and I said, okay, I'm going to try to make it to Halloween without drinking,
Nice.
right?
Mhm.
I made it to Halloween without drinking. I did not have a big support system around me, right? Of other people that were not trying to drink. I did not go to AA meetings, to get a sponsor or anything like that. I literally just did this on my own to see if I could do it.
Okay.
Outstanding. That's a tough thing to do.
And I mean, it still is, one of the most challenging things I've ever done.
Mhm.
After I hit Halloween, I was like, I'm going to go to Thanksgiving without drinking, because that previous Thanksgiving, I probably had 4 bottles of wine, plus a bunch of other things.
Mhm.
Like, I'm going to go to Thanksgiving and I'm not going to drink. I'm going to make it to Thanksgiving and I'm not going to drink.
Yeah.
Nice.
And I got to Thanksgiving and I didn't drink.
Awesome.
And right after Thanksgiving, I was like, okay, my birthday's coming up in December. I'm going to make it to my birthday. Now, like, that window is starting to shrink, right?
Mhm.
Starting to shrink of like when I'm going to say I'm not drinking till. I got to my birthday and I didn't drink. I was like, okay, I'm going to go to Christmas. And I got to Christmas. All right, now I'm going to New Year's. Got to New Year's.
Nice.
Got to the first of the year and I was like, okay, I'm on to something. I need to keep this up, because my energy level started to change. My sleep pattern started to change for the better.
Mhm.
And I started to notice an increase in my energy. I started to notice an increase in the betterment of like my own attitude. And I noticed that I remembered conversations
Right.
that I had with my kids the night before,
Uh-huh.
right?
It's an amazing thing. Yeah.
Yeah, and just kept going, brother. And then um, April 8th was the day that, I was wounded, and the day that we lost Jody. And up until then, I'd spent every April 8th, getting just ridiculously drunk,
Mhm.
because again, even in the veteran community, our culture tells us, oh, I'm going to go drinking for my boys that never came home.
Yep.
And I said, you know what? No, I'm going to do a workout to honor him, and I'm going to stay sober. And I'm going to talk all about it on social media, because that's the best way for me to honor him.
Absolutely. And he's
And
smiling down when you do that, brother. I know he is.
Yeah.
that's it, man.
Yep.
Right? Like, and so that was it, dude. Like, that's what it was. And then after that Alive Day, I was like, there is no point in me picking up the bottle again.
Amen.
Now that does not mean, right, that I don't have moments where I'm like, man, the kids aren't here, I got a steak in the fridge.
Mhm.
I could go get a bottle of wine and have that bottle of wine with my steak, and nobody would ever know. But then, I think about what I heard you say, and I think about who is going to be looking at me the next morning in the mirror. And that guy, right, is going to be pissed.
Absolutely. Yeah. You don't want to let him down.
I don't want to let him down,
Mhm.
Uh-huh.
right? And, when I heard you say that, and as you were sharing your story, I definitely have moments of self-doubt. I definitely, have body image issues. I struggle with, my own confidence at times. I struggle, thinking sometimes that I'm not enough. But I think about, like what you said, and I think about who I'm in competition with. And then I'm like, wait a minute, I'm not competing with anybody.
Mhm.
I'm competing with that dude that I was yesterday, but I'm not competing with anybody else.
Right.
Anybody can be like, oh, I'm going to beat you. I'll be like, cool, go for it. Like, I hope you do.
Right.
I want you to be 1,000,000 times better than I am in
Mhm.
every single possible way,
Mhm.
right? Because the only thing I got to do is be better than I was yesterday. And if I can do that, there ain't nobody going to beat me at anything.
Absolutely. Yep. And everything you described literally just makes you human. Now that you're sober, you're dealing with these instead of just drinking them away or just pushing them down.
Yes.
And that to me makes you a hero. Just keep
Yes.
doing that.
You are too kind, brother. Thank you. And it is, right? Like, it's a daily challenge, but it's one that when I wake up in the morning and, I'm like, hey, brother, talking to myself, like, you did it. Let's go do this again.
Yep. Yep.
You did it. Let's go do it again.
Yep. And your strength is in your choices, and you're choosing every day to be sober. And look at the positivity. So can you kind of get into the gym thing and tell us about that? Because I love your videos, by the way. Like, you're so motivational.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, happy to. The gym I think can be um, a very intimidating place to many people. Whether because they don't know how to exercise, or they have body image issues, or whatever it is, or they struggle with their own addictions. I love the gym because it's the only place that I know I can go that's not going to judge me, or that's not going to not be there for me.
Mhm.
That gym is there. That barbell is there,
Right.
right? If I'm putting in the work daily by eating right, resting right, doing what I'm able to physically do every day, I'm going to be rewarded with this piece of self-realization that I accomplished something really great,
Yes.
right?
Yep.
No matter if it's a 5-minute workout or a 60-minute workout, And so for me, it's been one of my modes of saving grace. Like, all right, I'm feeling really down about myself. Let me go hit a workout. Like, I'm going to feel much better after my workout, and the problems that I think that I'm having are going to go away,
And that is such a good
right?
choice because on the flip side of that, in the past, we would just drink it away, feel like crap that night, feel like crap the next day. Like that would just start a spiral of negativity. When you go to the gym, you not only do you feel much better, but you're investing in yourself. So you'll feel even better the next day and the day after that. And it starts that spiral of positivity. And
Yeah.
it's crazy because like if I knew that 10 years ago, like if I was just
Oh man.
not as hard headed as I am, like, it's crazy. Yeah. Dude, you're doing the right things, you're making the right choices, and that smile on your face says it all, dude. Like I'm so proud of you, man. That's good shit.
I appreciate it, brother. Thank you. Thank you. And so I love it, right? And so that's one of my passions is to help people, become the healthiest version of themselves, through exercise and good nutrition. And, I'm not afraid to tell, our brothers and sisters that, hey, if you're still drinking, right? If you're still drinking and putting poison into your body, you're doing your recovery from whatever it is that happened to you in the military wrong,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mhm.
I understand it that there are um, ways to honor our brothers and sisters that never made it home, but I certainly do not think that let me go get drunk for them is a good one. It's just not,
Self
right?
destruction is not a good way to honor anything or anybody.
No, sir.
Right.
No, that's a great way to put it. Self destruction is not a good way to honor anyone. I love
Right.
that. Well said.
Right.
Hell yeah.
Nice. Cool. Well, I think that your story, number one, is amazing. It's definitely going to inspire me. Dude, to be honest with you, part of the reasons why I do this podcast is to keep myself in check because I'm inspired by stories like yours. And that motivates me to never, ever, ever drink again because I would never want you to see on the internet, like, holy shit, Joe from This Sober Vet fell off the wagon. What? That will never happen
Yeah.
because of stories like you. Like, so dude, just thank you, man. Like, I'm again super proud of you. I'm a big fan. Like, your story is amazing, dude. Just thank you for everything, man. That's outstanding.
I appreciate it, brother. Thank you. I feel like, that feeling is very mutual. I'm so extremely proud of you that you found this amazing platform for yourself, and you're giving your brothers and sisters an opportunity to talk about their journey, man. Like, I love that for you. Like, I'm so excited for you, man. Like, I love it, dude.
Thank you.
Heck yeah, I love it.
Thank you. Thank you. So, if there's one thing you could tell someone who is on the fence, who listened to your story and goes, "Man, I want to be where Jeremiah is, but I'm just not ready to give up yet. Drinking is in my fabric of life. Like I just don't know what I would do without it." What is the one message that you would kind of give that person to motivate them to finally take that leap?
The one message that I would say to our brothers and sisters, or anyone in general that's thinking about taking that leap, your future self is depending on you to put that bottle down. Your future self is just waiting for you to become this amazing, great individual. But that bottle is holding you back from becoming the most amazing person that you can be. My name is Jeremiah Pauly, and that is how I became this sober vet.